To start this review, I think a bit of context is important here because the day we saw this film at KIF, in the very same day in the morning, we had just seen Radu Jude's Dracula. And if you have seen that film, you know it is a very different take on the same mythical tale. Now, walking into Luc Besson's Dracula, we knew that the gears were about to shift a bit. Like, this is a more Hollywood style approach to the same story, and it has that polished style to it. You can also call it a bit of a mainstream film in that way. So we kind of had our expectations managed to watch a blockbuster film on the big screen, but unfortunately, throughout the runtime of this film, I felt like the film really struggled to find any real identity.
I had pretty high expectations from the film because I watched Leon the Professional just before the festival. Luc Besson gave us masterpieces like Leon, The Fifth Element, etc. Yet this film so utterly failed.
And you know what's surprising is that this film started off pretty strong. Like, it opened with a war sequence that was visceral and exciting to see on the big screen. And it really felt like we were watching a gritty historical epic. But after that moment, the sequence ends, the film unfortunately loses its footing. And from there on, it suddenly shifts its genre abruptly, like transforming from a war film into a crowd-pleasing, like semi-horror kind of drama that feels more like a generic popcorn flick than a Luc Besson spectacle. And to be completely honest, once that shift happens, there wasn't really much for me to hold on to.
One thing that impressed me was the lead actor, Landry Jones, acting, who was of course the best actor winner of Cannes a few years back. Okay, one more good aspect of the film was the score by Danny Elfman, which actually did hit hard and was a treat to hear on the big screen.
The biggest structural issue here is the tone, like the horror elements don't quite land and the comedy often feels misplaced.
There's one horror scene in the film I'm laughing while even saying it. The entire audience was laughing at the film and not for the film. It was supposed to scare people.
But the most frustrating aspect of this film to me is how it utilizes Christopher Waltz. Like, we all know he's an icon and what he's capable of. But the script he's handed in this film doesn't really provide him much room to maneuver. And his character in this film is honestly a throwaway exposition character that is solely there to dump information on the audience. And it is very disheartening to see an actor of his caliber reduced to such a functional and flat role. Now, I will be very honest that I did not find myself enjoying this film, but even though that, there are some positives to highlight. Like one, the protagonist. He genuinely delivers a great performance here, like the intensity he brings to the screen is actually awe-worthy. And there is this one specific sequence involving Dracula and a group of nuns that I have to give credit to. Now, without spoiling anything, the imagery in that moment was truly outstanding. Like, it was one of those rare shots that felt transcending to witness on the big screen. It shows a glimpse of what the film could have been visually, but ultimately falls flat in every other aspect. Ultimately, Dracula, a love tale, ends up being a messy representation of the lore, and the most telling sign of this was the atmosphere in the theater. By the third act, the audience wasn't laughing with the film, but unfortunately were laughing at it. And yeah, personally too, I would say this was a pretty disappointing experience for me.
The film brings up the same twists and tale from the Francis Ford Coppola version of Bram Stoker's Dracula and shows Dracula as an eternal love story, but makes it a perfume commercial instead. For more reviews from the festival, click on the I button or subscribe to our channel.